The bus exhaust tasted like copper pennies and defeat. Another long shift at the factory, another handful of crumpled bills to add to the shoebox under the bed. I was halfway to my apartment when I saw him, slumped in the alley next to the dumpster. Even in the grimy half-light, I recognized the cut of his suit. Alexander Thorne. Not from a personal introduction, but from the society pages and financial news segments I sometimes caught on the break room TV. A founding family of the city. Old money, power, the kind of alpha that made the air crackle just by existing. He was in bad shape. Empty injector pens scattered around his polished shoes. Inducers. His scent was a storm, cedar and ozone and something violently unstable. He'd been trying to fight it with suppressants, a useless battle that was only making it worse. His eyes, when they found me, were pure animal hunger. Instinct screamed at me to run. Calculation told me to stay. My life was a ledger of debits and CRS, and right now the potential CR side was glowing. A man like him, in this state, he'd pay a fortune to make it go away, to keep it quiet. I pictured a crisp check, a dismissive gesture. Take this and disappear. He didn't wait for an invitation. He was on me in a second, all heat and muscle, pinning me against the cold brick. His nose was at my throat, a low growl vibrating through him. I didn't fight it. I let him scent me, my heart hammering against my ribs. When his hands started pulling at my clothes, I finally found my voice. Not here, I managed, pushing feebly at his chest. There's a motel around the corner. Some shred of his rationality must have clung on. He nodded, a jerky motion, and let me half guide, half drag him down the street. The moment the door of the rented room clicked shut, whatever control he had left evaporated. So did my pretense of being in charge. What followed wasn't a transaction. It was an obliteration. Days blurred together in a haze of sweat and sensation. He treated me like an omega, his teeth worrying at the scentless gland on my neck until it was raw. When I finally surfaced into full consciousness, he was standing by the window, dressed, watching me. I scrambled for the script. Look, I croaked, what happened? It stays here. I don't want anyone knowing either. He just studied me, his expression unreadable. You're a beta. I nodded, waiting. The check. Offer the check. He didn't. Instead, a faint, humorless smile touched his lips. Fine. I'll handle it. What he meant by handling it became clear an hour later. Not a check, but a proposal. Contract. $10,000 a month to be his public partner. A shield against his family's expectations. I was too stunned, too dazzled by the number to refuse. I moved into his brownstone. The money was everything I dreamed of, but the cost was higher than I'd imagined. He was relentless, a force of nature I couldn't hope to match. After one particularly exhausting night, I gathered my courage. Maybe this isn't working, I ventured, my voice still shaky. An alpha really should be with an omega. I'm just a beta. He turned, his gaze pinning me to the sheets. What exactly is our arrangement? It's a contract. You pay, I perform. A short, sharp laugh. You remember the terms. I pay, you stay. I decide when it ends. Then his scent would engulf me, sweet and punishing, and all arguments dissolved. His family made their disapproval known at a dinner at their estate on the North Shore. Crystal glasses, cold stares. His mother's voice cut through the polite clatter of silverware. Alexander, really? A beta from the industrial district? Passing fancy is one thing, but marriage? It's beneath you. I kept my eyes on my plate. I'd heard worse. Words were cheap. The money in my account was real. He can't soothe your cycles. He certainly can't give you an heir. Her words were a precise, venomous dart. You are the heir to Thorne Consolidated. You cannot. A sudden, violent wave of nausea hit me. I gagged, clapping a hand over my mouth. The room fell silent. Alexander's hand was on my arm, his brow furrowed. Call a doctor, he said, his voice flat. The diagnosis was a shock to everyone. especially the woman who had just declared it impossible. I was pregnant. The pregnancy temporarily silenced the critics. But a week before my due date, she found me alone. "Lucas," she said, my name sounding like a diagnosis on her lips. "You're a practical man. A beta has no permanent place here. Have the child, take a generous settlement, and leave gracefully. It's the best outcome for everyone." She was right. I was practical. I'd gotten what I wanted from Alexander Thorne. More than I'd wanted. The thought of a clean break, a fat bank account, and my freedom, it was seductive. And I knew better than to fight a family with that much reach. When the time came, I took the money. But as I packed my single bag, a streak of bitter defiance made me raid Alexander's study. Watches, a pair of cufflinks, a small abstract sculpture that looked expensive. A final, petty compensation. Walking out of the brownstone, though the weight in my chest had nothing to do with the stolen items. I didn't leave the city. For 3 years, I drifted through its boroughs. A ghost haunting the edges of Thorne consolidated its gleaming towers. I never saw him. I never saw a child. Then, one afternoon, a small figure stepped directly into my path. He was a beautiful child, with a solemn face and eyes that seemed to see too much. A nanny and 2 large men in dark suits hovered a few steps behind. I smiled, charmed. "You lost, buddy?" He stared at me for a long, unsettling moment. Then he reached up and took my hand. His smile was sudden and brilliant. "You look really familiar, mister. You'd be perfect for my dad." I laughed, brushing it off. "How old are you? Your dad still single?" The boy's smile faded. "Dad says his husband left." He shrugged, a heartbreakingly adult gesture. A cold trickle of dread started in my stomach. I couldn't meet his eyes. "What's your name, kid?" Eli Thorne. Thorne. The air left my lungs. I stared at his face, the shape of his eyes, the stubborn set of his jaw. It was impossible. They would never. "My dad's a prime alpha," Eli continued, swinging my hand. "He's super handsome and rich. You should come home with me. We take good care of you." My blood ran cold. "Oh no, I couldn't." His lower lip trembled. The men in suits closed ranks around me. Eli, now in his nanny's arms, gave a cheerful little wave. "We're going home now." The brownstone was exactly as I remembered. A museum of a life I'd fled. Eli scampered inside. "Dad? Where are you?" "Master Alexander is in his suite," the housekeeper replied, stepping into the foyer. Her eyes met mine and widened in pure shock. "Mr. Shaw? You take him to Dad," Eli commanded, pointing at me. Before I could protest, hands gripped my arms. I was marched upstairs and unceremoniously deposited into a dark, familiar bedroom. The air was thick, saturated with a potent, aggressive scent, cedar and ozone, edged with a metallic rage. "Who's there?" The voice from the darkness was a raw scrape of sound. I tried to speak, but the pheromonal pressure was suffocating. A tall form emerged from the shadows, heat radiating from him. He pushed me against the wall, his body hard against mine, his breath scorching my neck. My body, trained by memory, instinctively bowed my head, bearing the vulnerable place he'd once marked. The bite didn't come. I turned, confused, and looked up. Alexander Thorne. Older, harder, his eyes like chips of obsidian in the gloom. "Lucas." Memories crashed over me. The alley, the motel, the relentless months in this very house. The way he'd look at me sometimes like he was trying to solve a puzzle. The crushing loneliness after I left, a hole no amount of money could fill. My wrists and ankles felt heavy, cold. I shifted and the rattle of chain links echoed in the quiet room. Panic surged. I yanked against them, the noise harsh and desperate. A hand shot out of the dark, clamping on my arm. "Stop." He forced my face toward his. "What are you doing, Lucas?" "Me?" I choked out, the chains singing as I strained. You kidnapped me. We're done, Alexander. You don't get to do this. Done? His laugh was low and mirthless. I said the one who pays decides when it's done. You stole from me. You left me. You left our son. You don't get to say done. His mouth came down on mine, acclaiming without tenderness. The chains held me fast, a prisoner to his anger and his need. It was a brutal reclamation. After, as I lay spent and trembling, he loomed over me. Still thinking of running? Every fiber of me wanted to. I bit my tongue. No. He seemed to accept the lie for now. His scent softened marginally. He unchained me and carried me to the bath, where the warm water did little to soothe the ache of my realization. I was trapped. I woke to a small face inches from mine. Eli, propped on his elbows, watching me with open fascination. You're awake. It's almost dinner time. He was a shadow for the rest of the day, showing me his toys, telling me stories about his dad. A strange, tender ache bloomed in my chest. This was my child. I had missed everything. Alexander returned in the evening. The moment his scent filtered into the room, my whole body went tense. Eli, however, launched himself at his father with a joyful shout. Alexander scooped him up, nuzzling his hair, a picture of domestic contentment that made my throat tight. He glanced at me and I quickly looked away. He set Eli down. What did you two do today? Eli launched into a detailed report. I listened, a chill settling over me. It was a surveillance debriefing. I'd been oblivious, enjoying the time with my son, while every detail was being catalogued. After Eli was lured downstairs with the promise of ice cream, Alexander approached. His presence filled the space, pushing me back until the wall met my shoulders. Enjoy your day with Eli? He asked, his voice deceptively mild. He's wonderful. You've done a great job with him. That's all? His eyes narrowed. What else is there? He smiled, a slow, dangerous curve of his lips. Good. Then we can discuss your debt. He produced a folder. Photographs of me years ago, selling his things in a pawnshop off Times Square. Every shot was clear, unmistakable. Then a spreadsheet itemizing everything with a total that made my vision swim. Either you repay every cent, he said calmly, or you work it off. Your choice, Lucas. It was no choice at all. The debt was astronomical. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I'll stay. Life in the brownstone became a gilded cage. Alexander was vigilant, his gaze proprietary. The nights were long, a physical testament to the years of separation he seemed determined to erase. You ran for 3 years, he'd murmur against my skin, his hands possessive. A few weeks of this is nothing. One stormy night, Eli begged me to stay with him. We both looked to Alexander, a silent plea. He sighed, relenting. In Eli's room, with thunder shaking the windows, the boy curled into my side. Are you going to be my dad now? He whispered. My heart cracked. I can't answer that, buddy. Dad really likes you, Eli confided, his voice small. He used to be so sad. He had a picture he'd look at every night. I saw it once. He leaned closer, his breath warm on my ear. You look just like the man in the picture. The words were a physical blow. A substitute. That's all I'd ever been. The pain was acute, a sharp, jealous thing. The urge to flee, which had never fully left, roared back to life. I began to plan. Alexander's work kept him late. The household grew accustomed to my presence. My moment came on an unremarkable Tuesday. I had a bag packed with essentials and jewelry. I was creeping down the hall when a sleepy voice stopped me. Where are you going? Eli stood there, clutching a stuffed bear. I hushed him, my pulse racing. I have to leave, Eli. His face crumpled. But I want you to stay. I like you. I can't. The thought of seeing another person in my place, hearing Eli call them dad, was a special kind of torture.
I'm sorry.
Then take me with you, he said, his eyes suddenly bright with adventure. We can go together. Hurry. Before Dad gets back. It was madness. But he was my son. Alexander had had him for years. Maybe it was my turn. I took his hand and we slipped out into the cool evening. We hadn't made it half a block before headlights pinned us. A black town car slid to the curb. The door opened. Alexander stepped out. The streetlight etched the hard lines of his face. His gaze took in the bag in my hand. Then Eli's small fingers intertwined with mine. His expression turned thunderous. Lucas. My name was a growl. Eli shrank behind me. Dad, don't be mad. It was my idea. Alexander didn't even glance at him. He strode forward, snatched the bag from my grip, and tossed it to his driver. Then he hauled me over his shoulder. I cried out, pounding his back as he carried me back toward the house, barking an order for someone to take Eli inside. I was dumped onto the familiar bed. He locked the door, his movements tight with controlled fury. The room filled with the aggressive spill of his scent, a dizzying mix of anger and desire. Why? He demanded, caging me beneath him. Why is leaving all you ever think about? The dam broke. All the fear, the hurt, the crushing sense of being a placeholder came pouring out. Because I'm not her, I shouted, shoving at his immovable chest.
I'm Lucas.
Look at me. Eli told me everything. The picture you look at every night. I'm just the convenient copy, aren't I? And when you finally get her back, I have to watch my own son call someone else dad? I won't do it, Alexander. I'm done. Tears streamed down my face, hot and angry. He went very still above me. The rage seemed to drain from his frame, replaced by a look of profound confusion. A copy? He repeated, his voice strained. He let out a short, incredulous breath. Lucas, you idiot. He wiped at my tears with a rough thumb. What could a 4-year-old possibly know about it? He reached over and yanked open the nightstand drawer, pulling out a thick, leather-bound album. He flung it open on the bed between us. The page was filled with photographs. Me laughing on the couch in the living room. Me, asleep with sunlight on my face. Me, hugely pregnant, a hand resting on my swollen stomach. Dozens of them. All me. The picture, he said, each word deliberate, is of you. They're all of you. I spent 3 years looking for you. This was all I had. His voice broke, a raw vulnerability I'd never heard before. Who else, Lucas? Who else has ever been in my life, in my bed, but you? The world tilted. The foundation of my resentment crumbled to dust. I stared at the photos, at the evidence of his longing. But I went to your office. For years. I never saw you. Not once. He cupped my face, his touch finally gentle. My mother. She had people watching. Keeping you away. Keeping me in the dark. She was persuasive. It took me time to secure complete control of the family interests. To make sure she couldn't interfere again. He looked away, his jaw tight. She's in a long-term care facility now. She won't be troubling us. The last of my defenses collapsed. The manipulative matriarch, the hidden hands, it all made a terrible sense. The fight left my body. He gathered me against him, his heartbeat a steady drum against my ear. His lips had just found mine when a frantic knocking started at the door. Dad, you scared me outside and now I can't sleep. I need Lucas. Alexander pulled back, letting his forehead rest against mine with a groan of frustration. He stood, yanked the door open, and scooped up a pouting Eli, who was clutching his pillow. He can sleep in here, Alexander said gruffly, depositing the boy between us on the bed. You little saboteur. Eli just grinned and wrapped himself around me. Don't go, okay? He mumbled into my shirt. I'm not going anywhere. I whispered, the truth of it settling deep in my bones. I held him close, breathing in the scent of his hair. I'm here, Eli. For good. He tilted his head up, his eyes sleepy but clear. Daddy. The word was a bomb. A key turning in a lock I hadn't known was closed. Yeah, baby. I'm your daddy. I'm back. He was asleep in moments. I couldn't stop looking at him, tracing the features that were both mine and Alexander's. He always knew, Alexander said softly, watching us. I couldn't lie to him. He thought you chose to leave us. Bringing you home, it was all he wanted. He was just afraid you'd be angry if he called you Dad too soon. Understanding washed over me. The street, the ambush, the determined little face. It had been a rescue mission. Alexander slid an arm around me. Your debt, he murmured, his lips against my temple. Once it's paid, I'm a free man, I said, a teasing note in my voice I hadn't felt in years. His arms tightened. You were never a debtor, Lucas. You were always the investment. And the return. He stood, lifting me with him. The debt is forgiven. The terms are new.
Permanent.
He carried me toward the bathroom. As the door closed, sealing us in warm, private darkness, I knew the ledger was finally balanced. Not with money, but with something that had no price. I was home.